Welcome to this week's edition of Las Películas Sábados Gigantes at the Cinemarijuana Theatre.
All right.
Avoid my microphone. All right, yes, we are a cinema appreciation society who gathers weekly to watch a movie, to discuss a film and watch a film. This is the discussion portion of that film, and we are here today to discuss 1989 Society. Directed by Brian Yuzna, written by Rick Fry and Woody Keith, starring Billy Warlock, Devin DeVasquez, Evan Richards, and Patrick Jennings.
And the special effects of
Screamin' Mad George.
Ooh, yeah.
Right? Yes. And that was like part of the attraction too, I guess, for a lot of people. So let's
Screaming Mad George.
Yeah, well, because the special effects were really amazing in this film.
Yes, they were. They certainly were impressive.
Well, no,
Yes.
well, for practical effects and for prosthetic
Well,
makeup.
gentlemen, let's not jump the gun here.
Yeah.
we don't even know what we're talking about.
Let's not
yet.
blow our wad prematurely.
And we don't even know who we are.
That's correct. We don't. So why don't we find out exactly who we are? Well, clockwise, starting with me, I'm Ed.
I'm Zeb.
I'm John.
I'm Kenzie.
I'm Chris.
I'm Cody.
I'm Matt.
All right. So before we get into what everybody thought of Society, let's go to Kenzie first for a synopsis of this film. This ought to be a good one.
Okay. This film is about a good-looking dude and his also good-looking family who are up to some seriously strange things, including, spoiler alerts, incest, orgies, murder, and just other wacky shit.
And shunting.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
And squanching.
Okay, well, actually, that is a perfect synopsis, and that leads me to the next thing, which is who in this film, before we discuss it, who in this film, if anybody, is in the Bone Zone?
Oh, we're getting right down to business.
Well, I figured we were talking about it. Me and Chris were talking about it, and I guess we actually didn't. I didn't inquire in the last couple of films.
I noticed.
And Chris was like, "Dude,
Where's
what
the
the
Bone
fuck?"
Zone?
Right, and
I've
I was like,
wondered a
"Oh
few
my
times
god!"
Who was in the Bone Zone? In
Right.
This movie?
Well, and I'm sure other people were as well.
That's
so,
the kind of thing that haunts you at night. Like, you
I-
can't sleep because you're
Definitely.
wondering who's in the Bone Zone.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Who?
And so I was like, "Well, okay. Well, we should just." We were talking. We should just try to make it. Make sure we do a regular part Bone Zone every time. So
That's a good idea.
looking at the thing, when she does the synopsis, perfect time. So, who's in the Bone Zone, if anybody, in this film?
Okay, definitely the main character.
Billy
Yeah.
Warlock.
And he looks like that one guy who voices Chance in Homeward Bound, the dog. What's his name? And he has-
Stand by.
No, he has Parkinson's.
Michael J. Fox.
Yeah,
Fox.
that's who he reminded me of, kind of.
Okay. Sure.
That's who he kind of looks like him.
Well,
They're both young teens from
He
the
reminded me
80s.
of like a low-rent Emilio Estevez.
I was thinking more of like he kind of reminded me a little bit of like Richard Grieco, but a little more vulnerable Grieco.
Anyways, what about
That's
the
kind
dad?
of
Yeah.
what I thought.
Yeah.
And then
I
the
was
dad,
thinking more like a
definitely.
poor man's Willie Ames.
Okay,
Bibleman.
Kenzie, what about the dad in his butthead form?
No. Ew. All of that was just so, like,
Wait.
okay.
Wait.
Okay, so but I gotta check. So, what about his buddy Milo?
No,
The
not
guy.
really.
Okay, what about Blanchard, the guy with the tape,
The guy
The
with
creeper.
tape.
the sister's
the
first
stalker.
The guy
boyfriend?
with the beauty mark.
Yeah. No, because I didn't like him.
Okay. All right. Well, there you have
Simple
it.
enough.
So Billy Warlock.
Wait, what
In
about
the
the
Bone
what
Hit
Not
about
us-
the
the
hit
dad?
us-
judge.
hit us-
Not
What about the dad?
judge.
The dad was
The dad.
Yeah,
Yeah, the dad was.
there.
Yeah.
But not
He
in
was
Patrick
in the
Wilson.
Bone Zone.
What about the psychiatrist?
No.
The judge?
No.
Are we going through the
not
entire
judge.
cast?
I know.
What about the key grip? Okay.
What about Billy Unza?
So there you have.
What about Man in Crowd number 3?
There you have it. Billy Warlock, you can hit us up on SoundCloud or Facebook, and you can get those digits.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's 3 minutes on the clock for everybody. Let's go around and get everybody's opinion
All right.
on this film from 1989. All right, starting with you, Zeb. 3 minutes and go.
I wasn't here because I was dealing with the police last week, but
Yes.
I was
Fun.
able to catch up. When Ed told me with the movie, I didn't know what the movie was until I saw the poster of the film, and I'm like, oh, that movie. And this
Yeah.
could be a whole different subject for a different podcast, but the art of the VHS cover and the environment of video rental stores could be a whole new podcast.
Right.
With that,
Oh,
I
yeah.
kept seeing this movie at the old Video Depot in Oceanside. I distinctively remember like the people pulling off their faces.
Right.
On
It's
there.
it's kind of for me a little reminiscent of when they do that thing in Beetlejuice. Alec Baldwin
Yeah.
and Gina Davis have
Oh,
that move in Beetlejuice, and they're kind of reminded that a little bit.
And and I turned around the VHS box cover, and I do remember the guy with the butt coming out. With that, this was a perfect example of like those VHS horror tapes you would rent way before the internet proliferated us with pornography at our fingertips.
Yeah.
You would rent either a porno from the double-sided saloon doors or beads, depending on your video rental store of choice. But if you're with your parents or somebody else, and you're like, "Oh, I'm going to rent this," you were popping it in, hoping for a view of some titties and ass.
Of course.
And this movie did deliver on both
At the same
cases,
time.
although some of them were reversed, which would have been great and awesome. And if you want to talk about the Bone Zone for me, that scene itself was in the Bone Zone for that.
when her ass is on backwards.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, one, she was cute, and secondly, like, holy shit.
That's a
But
flexible woman.
with that, again, I kind of judge movies based on their peers. Like, I'm not going to take this movie and judge it against all that jazz or even
that's actually something we will be discussing later, not specifically. But.
or even Rent. I would say
yes.
this movie was more entertaining than Rent was.
Certainly.
But
I would too.
Compared to the caliber of films at that time, it's more medium, middle of the road for me. I did kind of. It's kind of frustrating to see a filmmaker trying to explain a topic they want to discuss or address a certain societal issue. George Romero was able to do this very well in his Night of the Living Dead series.
Yes, well.
Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. But this film, they were trying to put forward a topic of like, oh, the rich, they're powerful because of this. I kind of felt like he was kind of like shoving that down our throats, like, oh, look how evil the rich people are.
Yeah,
Ooh.
it was pretty left wing.
Yeah, and it's like, all right, we get it. The movie's
undertones.
called Society. Yes, okay,
Right.
Society.
This is the era of the yuppie, though. I mean, 80s. The
It
whole,
was, and
Wall
and I
Street
really
thing.
enjoyed it because
The Reagan era.
it caught the essence of the late 80s. I mean, fucking telegrams.
The ladies.
I was like, I'll send you a telegram. Oh, honey, a telegram arrived for you today. So I thought that was very interesting. With that, I thought the story could have been fleshed out a little bit more. No pun intended for that. However, the effects were tremendously well done in this film, and I'd give it a high 2, low 3.
Okay. All right, John.
Well, it's one thing I know is that C men plus C people equals society.
Yes.
Yes, that has very little to do with this film. No, I wasn't here last week, so I didn't catch it with the group, and I didn't get a chance to rewatch it. But Ed and I saw it at a horror-thon, New Bev, right?
I think the New Beverly Show.
Yeah, a couple of years ago. So I have seen it, and it's great. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely sort of in that kind of body horror vibe
Yeah.
that you got from Cronenberg's The Fly.
Oh, yeah.
And a few other things.
Yeah, the '80s was definitely the decade of Flesh.
Yeah, and it's,
The new Flash.
The new
Flash.
I remember too that it's we're watching it the first time because you don't know what's going on either.
The first time
there's-
you watch it,
right,
yeah.
right, and so you're sort of I like movies that sort of do that. I mean, because when you're presenting a scenario like this, like there's two ways a filmmaker can do it. They can let the audience in on things right from the beginning, and you know what's going on, even though the protagonist doesn't, or they can keep you in the dark too, which they did with this movie, which I like because you're like, what is even going on here? Like, and then even when it starts happening, you're still like, what is going on here? And
Almost
even kind of at the end,
sometimes
you're still,
maybe-
what is going on here?
Sometimes
like, what
maybe
just
the
happened?
point of being frustrated.
Yeah. But it's obviously a movie like this is sold on its practical effects and it's the makeup, and that's all. I thought they did a really great job on that, and it's really just weird.
Well, as a point of trivia, just to toss this in, the film was back. The effects were conceived first.
Right.
oh, really?
And he wrote the story
They
around
to match the
the
effects.
sequences.
Well,
He dreamt up this shunting sequence.
Right. Well, and I guess
So
that's
go ahead.
kind of so that helps because it really does show how much that sort of drove the story. But I never saw this at all when it was, of its era from the 80s. So for me, it's kind of a lost hit of the 80s. But I know if I'd have caught this on HBO or something, it would have been like what? And I probably would have watched it numerous times. So I liked it. I thought it was really good. I would give it 3 stars.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Brevity is king tonight. Kenzie, your turn.
Okay.
3 minutes, go.
Okay. Well, I like this movie, obviously.
Excellent.
I think. And this might sound really weird, but I think that movie would be like a really fun porno.
No, she's right. I can see that.
Especially
It would be.
today, it's sort of ubiquitous as porn is sort of in the culture. I think that's kind of what a lot of people probably would think at the same time with the whole situation that's insinuated with the family at the beginning, like right off the bat, you're thinking this sounds like a fucking porno.
It's
Right.
very
Right.
porny.
Yeah.
Where's the pizza man?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
You guys need a plumber?
But yeah, I mean, I could have done without all the grossness involved. Like it could have just.
That's
the best part.
You were really into the moving story then. You were like, you were
Yeah.
totally turned off by the shunting sequence, but it was that riveting character interaction.
Yeah,
Outside
exactly.
of the body horror, it was.
The subtext of the struggle of the middle class.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
As portrayed by our lead, a rich kid.
right. Okay, well, have you anything else for us?
No.
All right. Well, how many
Rating.
stars? Jesus. Okay. We're fucking, well, that's gonna do it for us
Well,
tonight.
what would you rate it?
Yes.
I would rate it 3 stars because I did like it. It was pretty entertaining, but I'm not like in a hurry to watch it again and again.
Okay.
So
All right. That'll take us to Chris.
Okay.
Go ahead and tell us what you thought.
Well, this in 3 words is cacophony of flesh. I thought that came to mind.
Ooh, that's
let's
painting
see.
an interesting visual image.
But very, very true, I think.
Yeah.
Very apt.
Things I liked about it, it was fascinatingly disgusting in a good way.
Oh, Chris
Yes.
has notes.
Yeah, I know. That's, dude, I know. I had to turn away because
Yeah,
like,
I actually
I had to wipe a
That's
tear out of
awesome.
my eye.
wrote stuff down, tried to get organized. I don't know. But it was like a car accident. Like you watch it, you can't like look away. You're just waiting for something like even more fucked up to happen, and it totally does. It's like a shy girl with a fetish. A little boring at first, but then, by the
But
end,
then
you're like,
it went.
I like when Chris brings notes. This shit is deep.
Yeah.
You should do this more
There you go.
often.
I could see that on the fucking VHS box. Like,
Yeah.
in quotes. Like a shy girl with a fetish.
like the director's cut.
Cacophony of flesh. ...
yeah.
Visual imagery being thrown around. Is
Yeah,
brilliant
that's
right now.
wonderful.
Says Chris at the Cinemarijuana Theatre.
Brian Yuzna, if you want to use that
Oh, it
exchange time.
makes normal missing person stories seem boring.
There
And I
you
think-
go.
That's
I think
true,
the
'cause you-
psychopaths and kidnappers need to step up their game.
I think maybe that's the message to take from this film, perhaps.
It's like I was saying, when you don't know what's happening, it ends up being even crazier than you would have thought.
Right.
Like, no matter what you're thinking, if you've never seen this movie before as you watch, no matter what you're thinking it's crazier than what you're thinking.
Yeah.
just
It's
I have to
even
agree with
weirder
that.
than what you're coming up with.
Well,
Yeah.
the great thing now is that after hearing that Gone Baby Gone, in retrospect, really needed a shunting scene.
I think a lot of films could benefit from a shunting scene. Probably there should have
Dude,
been
Ranch
several.
would have been so much better if there was a shunting
Dude,
scene.
the Star
An
Wars
AIDS
prequels.
shunting scene.
They
The
just all
Star
like get on
Wars
the table in that
prequels.
loft and just start shunting each other.
They
I was
decide
like,
just
oh, we
fuck
saved
it.
you, Rosario. Now you have to be one of us, shunting.
Dude, if Order 66 had have been executed via shunting, can you imagine what a masterpiece Episode 3 would have
All the
been?
clones just start stripping off their armor
And
like,
shunting
turning
away.
their butts around,
And shunting the shit out of each other.
trying to shunt all the Jedi.
Shunting the ever-loving shit out of each other.
Okay.
Every
so,
single Jedi must be shunted.
So many great gifts from this movie. Could be
Ah,
from this movie.
dude, there you go.
Not sure if the incest was supposed to be funny, but it was.
I thought it was.
Like, it's kind of weird where it goes both ways. Like, he's kind of fucked up on his own, though, isn't he? Like, he doesn't really... Like, he's kind of, like, looking for it. Like, you don't just walk into the
No,
somebody's shower.
that's actually
Oh, that's
that's
true.
actually an interesting point. That like he almost on some level at the beginning seems like almost complicit in a way.
Yeah,
Well,
he's,
I
like,
thought too,
fantasizing
though, that
about
maybe
it.
that's because they talk about him not feeling like he's part of the family.
Is he adopted?
He's adopted.
adopted.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so like I think that's supposed to represent.
But he doesn't know he's adopted.
No, he
No.
doesn't. But like they talk about like on a deep like level subconsciously,
Oh, he
you recognize
suspects,
family members and stuff like that. So that
Uh.
somehow, even though he doesn't consciously know it, someone like the reptilian part of his brain, he recognizes that he's not related to her, and that's why he's kind of into her. I guess.
That makes sense.
Okay, sorry. Let me finish up.
Yeah, go ahead.
The droopy mouths kind of reminded me of Beetlejuice.
Hey, there we go.
Kept expecting to hear
Great
"Come,
minds.
Mr. Tallyman" during the shunting scene. Things I didn't like. The story was a little hard to follow. Had trouble getting behind Billy. I kind of hated him. I wanted him to die, like at points. You know, he's kind of the douchiest one of like the whole family, in my opinion. The other ones are kind of cool. They want to party, and he's like,
He's certainly not.
he's like, don't ruin my little.
He's the he's the
perfect.
stick
Shut
in
up
the
and
mud.
get shunted. Come on.
Yeah. Come on, get up. Come on, get down with the shunting.
Just get shunted already. Come on, Billy.
I guess I kind of felt Blanchard's character was unnecessary. Like
because he
Billy
was kind
already
of onto shit
suspected-
already.
Yeah, Billy already suspected it, and
I guess really all he was just there to deliver basically the cassette that had the evidence that pushed Billy kind of over the edge in terms of knowing something was really fucking.
He's
going
almost
on.
a plot convenience.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like you hit a dead end. Here's this random character.
But
to...
no. But hang on. Blanchard is essential if the story is based around the shunting.
That, well, that
because
tape
he's-
is, that's right.
yeah, but it
That's
kind
the
of could have
only
been
proof.
any. Oh, okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
the
If
tape.
if Blanchard doesn't get shunted, you don't have a shunting.
His buddy. Milo.
No, you can't.
Yeah, I mean,
you
it
can't
could have been
shunt
anybody
him.
though. Really.
You could, no, I'm saying
guess
you could have replaced that and it still would have had an emotional impact. Because the Blanche just disappears and
Yeah.
then shows up and we're like, oh.
Oh,
I
there
don't
he is
care.
again. Oh,
That's
yeah.
true.
No,
I
you're like, who is that
Yeah.
guy? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
He's
yeah,
the guy
you're
who
right.
kind of tried to rape his sister earlier.
Yeah, and we already stopped caring about him. Did we even care about him in the first
Yeah,
place?
no,
Like,
okay. You're right. So,
that's it. I have some trivia. I'll just save it for later. Though.
okay. Well, we can do it at the top of Bowls Deep. In fact, I'll even write that down.
What's your star
It's
rating?
not that much.
Chris?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3. It was really entertaining. I liked it. It was fun. It was a nice break from.
Nice.
Considering we were just watching that shit about Kubrick and like the mazes and shit like that. Yeah, it's such
Well,
a,
it's funny how they kind of go up and down for us. Like it's funny, like we have like either like we have like a lot of really high highs or like a lot of really low lows.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean we have titles like All That Jazz, like Treasure of the Sierra Madre. You know what I mean? Like all these great ones alongside shit like Rent, like fucking like Standing Ovation, like fucking you know what I mean? Cannibal the Musical or
Jesus.
fucking Sidekicks or
The Canyons.
Oh, wait a
or,
minute.
yeah,
Wait
the
a minute.
The Canyons or you know just we've had some really a Hamburger the Motion Picture.
Hey.
That was a nice.
Hey,
that was my pick. So dude, you know
I
I'm
like
into
quite
it.
a few of those that you mentioned.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. I just think it's interesting.
Oh, Standing Ovation's on Netflix, by the way.
Have you seen it yet?
No.
Oh my
I
god!
almost clicked on it last
you
night.
know what, Zeb, you should watch it.
Do
Just
yourself-
watch it and let us know what you think.
You almost need to do it just for like knowing what.
Okay,
the,
I'll
the story. But
I'll watch Standing Ovation.
Watch it with an open
we
mind.
should almost add that,
I
right,
always
as
do.
like the prerequisite to be in the
Must
group.
seen-
Must have seen.
So, Cody,
Standing Ovation.
'Cause you won't get
Standing
the
Ovation
reference
on
otherwise.
Netflix, all right?
You gotta watch it.
This is a Disney film, correct?
No. It is an independently produced film from the East Coast. The closest thing it has to Hollywood money is James Brolin was an EP.
But I think
And
it might
we
have
actually
aired on the
even-
Disney
That's pretty.
Channel.
We
That's
actually-
some legit Hollywood.
We went to
royalty
the
right
New Art, did a
Rolling,
midnight
rolling.
screening of it with James Brolin in attendance that we went to. It
We
was-
didn't go with him, but he was there.
No, he was there. He was there. It was and man, did he look great. He should, if James Brolin wasn't such a fun, cool name, he should change his name to Handsome Be Wonderful. Because that's exactly how he looks.
All right, moving on.
Okay, yes. All right, so Cody, 3 minutes on the clock. Tell us about Society.
It's kind of it's a movie that I wrestled with because I really had a fun time with it, but for none of the reasons they intended for me to have a fun time with this movie. You know, all the humor, the best lines were like really bad line readings and questionable dialogue. But that being said, it was still fun. But I would say that kind of going to the beginning of the movie, I didn't see the ending coming, obviously, because I haven't seen this movie before when we watched it. But I did suspect, like...
Something big was en route.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, because I'm like, it's the 80s, and it's like there's going to be some sort of, you know, supernatural, horror-related element to this. But in the beginning, there's kind of the interaction between Billy and the sister. And
Jenny.
And I almost immediately was like, someone's relatives are gonna do it later at this point.
You could just tell.
It was just this weird, like, before the
Patrice Jennings as Jenny, by the way.
yeah, it was before the shower scene. It was just the kind of the them talking. I'm like, oh, whoa, is this some like Greek theater stuff going on right now? Like,
Am I watching Caligula
Yeah.
here?
What's going on?
Oedipus the King.
Oedipus the King. It's frustrating because there were some technical issues that were hard for me to get over while watching this movie. Mainly the editing. It felt like there was like entire scene transitions that were completely lost, and there was also some questionable handheld that, and like where they would just go like off the sticks and onto handheld for no reason,
Right.
and then they just cut back to these like 1980s porn dolly shots in mansions because it's in a mansion, it's on a slider,
Yeah.
and there's like weird like synth music.
The set was really pretty.
Oh,
I
yeah, they
thought.
spent some
I
money
thought
on
the
the set.
house and the set and the with
Right.
the shunting was very
But
pretty.
like, you know, I have to bring those up just because that needs to be brought up tangentially. But on the flip side, the end of that movie is amazing.
yeah,
There's
right.
nothing else like the end of that movie. It's like when you watch movies from the 60s and it ends in a big group scene and everyone's like throwing pie or something.
Skidoo, the end of Skidoo.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
Carol Channing, like in her bra, like,
It was
leading
like a
these
shunting
tugboats.
version of the end of Skidoo.
Man, yeah, that's what the shunting needed. More Carol Channing.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my
Time
God.
for some
Dude,
shunting.
yikes.
I'm done.
It's gonna throw
That
your
was way
shunt
too
off. It's
accurate,
Carol
Seb.
Channing. Hadn't heard of the mix.
We don't like. I don't know if anyone else felt this, but I totally got like at times a total Batman '66 vibe during that last scene. Like,
Well, there was even some canted angles.
Oh yeah,
I think,
like when
wasn't there? Like-
the psychiatrist has like the Heath Ledger Joker face,
Oh yeah,
and he grabs like what do he have he had like that dog catcher thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he was like
everything.
running around, and then there was like face butts and
yeah, and you had some nice overly dramatic lighting
yeah,
and stuff.
daughter vaginas or whatever that was.
Okay, all right. So on the 5-star scale, what are you going to give Society?
I give it a 3, a solid 3.
Okay, all right, Dr. Matlis, your turn. Tell us about Societa.
Oh man, I don't even know where to begin on this one.
Scientifically accurate, 90% or 100%?
110.
Or 110.
Well, that still is to be proven, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Is
It's
anyone
theoretical.
here part of the society?
Well, I guess
I
they
hear
were,
you.
they wouldn't
I
say
hear you have to
anything.
be born into it.
Yeah, we're pretty.
We're way too poor for that.
we're the society's rubbish.
No, so I never saw this movie. I never even heard of this movie.
Yeah,
I was going into this one
surprisingly.
like, completely blind, right? And it starts off. Okay, you know that something it's kind of supernatural is gonna happen because it's like the whole opening credits scene. It kind of gives you like some imagery of the shunting.
Yeah,
Like,
they give you a little
dude.
forecast.
A little
of that.
forecast.
Kind of
Yeah.
felt like a scene
So-
from Alien.
yeah. Some
The way
geeky
the
stuff.
belly stretches.
Especially if
But
you've
like
seen
the-
that deleted footage from the first Alien, where you see the like the cocoon thing being
Yeah.
made.
Yeah.
And you see Tom Skerritt
Yeah.
like on the wall. Sorry. go ahead.
Yeah, but anyways,
Tom Skerritt.
going aside from that, it's like the plot starts and you have no clue what's going on,
Right.
and so you're just kind of like going along with the protagonist, this guy, and it's like I was getting kind of like a Donnie Darko kind of feeling
Sure, yeah.
towards it because it's like he's a teenager
It
in
wouldn't-
high school,
dude,
it's just like very out of place.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me to find out that Richard Kelly was a fan.
Oh,
of this
I
film.
wouldn't be surprised either. But yeah, you kind of get the sense that, like, yeah, he's the outsider. At least that's the way he feels, and like he's going to the psychiatrist, but obviously is absolutely no help whatsoever.
Yeah, this shit just keeps getting
Like
worse.
we find out later on that he's like trying to, I guess, kind of force him into this kind of mental breakdown or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
But you don't know that at the beginning, so it's like you're kind of left with like this, like, is this kid like actually like schizophrenic, or is there actually like
Something going on.
some weird conspiracy going on?
That's like a
And
Twilight
so
or
it's just
something.
like it gives
we were just talking
it
about
just
that.
gives you like this really weird, uneasy feeling for a very long time in the movie, it's a slow burn.
Yeah, it is.
Until you
It
get to the
is.
very end, and you're just like what the fuck?
Which is actually kind of one of the especially like when in the marathons that we've seen going through like some of the deeper cuts proverbially of horror. A slow burn is like a total like trope of a lot of horror films.
Yeah, you got to
Yeah.
invest some time and some effort before anything really gets
Yeah.
you.
But it is totally like what the fuck, and then like you get a little bit further, and you're like what the fuck,
Yeah.
and then you get a little bit further, and you're until you're at the end, and you're just like, and
Yeah,
and
it's like,
your
that's-
mind has already like leaked out of your ears,
Right.
sitting on the
Like
floor,
that was a thing that happened. You've
and-
seen it.
and
You
yeah,
can't
and I don't
unsee
know,
it.
Yeah, I don't know who said it here, but it's like no matter how crazy you think the ending is going to be, it's like as much as you can imagine, it's going to be worse.
Yeah, it's crazier. Yeah. You have no idea.
and the effects were just great, like screaming
Screaming
George.
mad.
Yeah.
I wonder if he
They
knows
were
Screaming
screaming
Lord
mad.
Such.
They're like buddies, drinking buddies.
Okay, all right. So, what's your star rating going to be for Society?
I enjoyed this flick. I'd give it a 3.
Okay. All right, that brings it to me. All right, so the first thing I want to mention that I actually forgot to mention at the top of the program is that Raul, who selected this film, is not here.
Oh yeah, we can't
This
get
week
last
he's
Tradition.
in traditional Cinemarijuana Theatre fashion. The culprit is
left the scene of the crime.
is AWOL. Yes, when it's time to fess up. So we don't.
We'll have to wait.
we won't know what was going on in his mind when selecting this film as his inaugural pick until he returns next time, where I promise we will find out. But other than that, yeah, was Billy really lower class? That's kind of and I'm not trying to level a huge complaint on this film because I actually like this film, but I'm just thinking to
It's
myself,
like the plight of the upper middle class.
Well, yeah, it's like even if he is adopted, like you were adopted in like a rich ass family, like why are you having this problem to begin with?
Well, I
Yeah.
think
First
it's
world
like as
problem.
if the class difference is also a species difference, and it's like a metaphor between the two things, and
Yeah.
that's why he doesn't belong to society because high society is whatever those things are.
Yeah.
Guys, it's all about
And
races.
that's
Okay.
like- well, it could be because then you just instead of it being
Yeah.
whites versus like a minority.
Okay,
it's,
so
it's
like on a
those
deeper
things
level,
versus
like
humans.
even him
man.
being adopted in, it's almost like it's like he's the token minority,
right? Because he'll never totally fit in because he can't become one of those.
And it's
things.
almost
Yeah,
like
he
he's
can't do
not
those
there.
things.
He's not there so much because they are genuinely sensitive to anyone's plight or anything like that, but more to assuage their own white guilt.
yeah, and I mean they're just
Interesting.
they're always going to be a separate entity, and
Okay.
whatever. I mean, obviously, it's assumed at least by them that they're a evolutionary step up from people.
Okay.
Because you never find out if they're aliens or what they are, but
Right.
whatever they are in theory, because they feed on us,
Right.
they're therefore like on the food chain, they're above us.
Don't
you-
you think the pressure's kind of on them? Like they're just upper middle class and they know how to shunt. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, come on,
That's some high level shit.
shouldn't they be?
I
like
wonder what
Illuminati
shunting.
by
I
now?
wonder what
Like-
shunting.
They are the
feels like.
Illuminati.
Yeah, they kind of are, but it's
For
like
the shuntor or the shuntee.
Well, but
I
anyways,
guess he was. He was running for
we can get
mayor,
into
yeah.
the deeper things about this film in a minute. I actually really like this film. I liked it when we saw it in the theater. It's one of those films that when they announced it's one of these films that like nobody's seen until like somebody else shows it to you.
yeah, somehow it flew under everybody's radar.
You know what I mean? And for us, it was part of the lineup. We'd never seen it before, but when they announced the title, cheers went up. So it was like, okay, we're in for a treat, and sure enough, it's totally unique. I've in my love of horror films, as long as I've watched them and stuff, I've grown to really kind of become appreciative for a lot of stuff that really, you could argue fails on like a lot of technical levels, and I think that kind of does a lot for this film too, because as Cody pointed out, there is a lot of, when you want to get down to it, there's a lot of stuff that's wrong or erroneous or that could be sharpened up in this film as far as
well,
as
it
far
was
as
shot in 5 weeks.
is well, and
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Oh, was it really?
I'm sure he had a
Yeah.
tiny
Wow.
budget. I'm sure he had a tiny budget. You know what I mean? So, but none of that shit bugs me, and that's something we're actually going to talk about. So, I can't give it more than a 3. But I think this is a rad film, and this is a great film to know. This is a great film to have in your arsenal for when people are like captive. to
Yeah.
to your cinematic whims. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
you're like shunting their eyes.
right, like because that's exactly right. It's almost and I think that
Well,
this
it's
is
a good
great
choice then for Raul's first choice. because of
absolutely,
that,
absolutely.
To really,
Been shunted.
throw the heat right off the bat.
Yeah.
And shunt all of our eyeballs.
So I think it's an important. I think it's a good film for any film enthusiast to have seen or know about. Horror is such a. Cody and I were talking about horror. In fact, that's the we could talk about this really quick for the effect. Well, actually, let's see. Let me break this down.
You
in
should give your
time.
stars.
All right, we got 30 minutes, and I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 5 minutes.
What are you rating it?
3 stars.
So
3
everyone
stars.
gave it 3.
Yeah, everyone gave
Yeah.
it 3.
wow, solid.
We're united.
We're so boring.
Even including our normal Bizarro girl, Kenzie.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
Well, then can I change mine to 4?
Yeah.
Because I did. No, I want to keep it at 3.
Don't. You gotta be true to
I
yourself.
wanted to be different.
Well, you did rate
so
it 4
bad.
on the
I did?
page. Yes, you did.
I did.
did I rate it yet?
Then I guess
I don't
it's
know.
4 for Kenzie.
Oh.
All right.
And I know Garrett and Jason Land gave it a 2.
They're just not here.
I talked to Garrett a little
Interesting.
bit about the movie too.
Did he give you any interesting points?
No, we were just talking about video stores. And
Oh, okay.
remembering the package art for it.
So the first thing we could talk about for a couple of minutes really quick is Cody and I were talking about this on the way to our class the other day. And is horror the greatest genre because it's so much is possible under its umbrella?
Either that or sci-fi.
Whereas-
maybe. I mean, it
Well,
it
sci-fi
really
Well, there's a
kinda
lot of
limited,
sci-fi
though.
horror crossover too.
Romantic
Yeah.
comedies.
Well,
That's
but you
true.
could have
The door
you could
really is
have
wide
horror.
open
You could have
for horror.
romantic comedies that are also horror films.
I always
Yeah,
feel
I
like
do.
the two best genres are horror and comedy because of the two that are so visceral. They actually make you feel something
Cabin Fever.
like
is
really
my
strong.
favorite.
Like, okay, if you feel like the terror from a horror movie, or you laugh a lot at a comedy,
Or
like
the
that's
terror
something
from
that
a
really
comedy.
affects you, like physically and mentally and emotionally. I mean, I guess maybe the kind of person who cried at movies, then maybe a sad movies would do that
yeah,
too.
tearjerker.
But since I don't cry at movies, that's meaningless.
So
Well, I don't
you-
get
you
scared of movies
say-
either, but I can at least sense.
That's an
what's
interesting
scary.
observation. Then that they're getting you on that those films are best because they get you on such a base emotion level that you have a more sort of significant interaction with them.
Well, I feel because you react to them sort of physically as well as mentally.
right.
And like
Well,
emotionally.
Whereas other films, you just kind of
It could just be mental,
right.
know.
As a creator, though, you're the closest to your audience in a horror movie because your decisions you make when it comes to music choices and camera choices directly affect how the audience reacts outwardly, not just like inwardly.
Right.
So, like a jump scare, for example, which is like the easiest way to do it, is essentially just not showing you something and then flashing it up on screen.
Right.
But you get a whole entire audience of 300 people to jump all at once.
Yeah. Which is a very cheap. Which is
Yeah, it's very cheap,
take
but-
Paranormal Activity 2. That's the only accolade I give it is that it has that one really good jump
with
scare.
the cabinets,
Couldn't you
right?
kinda
Yeah,
Super
and the rest of the
open.
movie
Yeah.
is fucking garbage.
Well, jump scares are cheap and really, I mean, good horror movies don't need to use them.
Well, no, that's actually not true. Well, I
sprinkle
think,
them.
Well,
They're like a good
because they
spice.
can be very effective.
They
because
can be.
If you think about what you're
They're
doing,
just so played out.
if you're building tension, you're building suspense. Like the first one that comes to mind is there's a wonderful fucking jump scare in Exorcist 3, which is underrated historically. There's who here's seen Exorcist 3? Anybody?
I think I've seen it, but
Okay,
it's been a while.
In the hospital.
The nurse one, right?
Yeah,
Oh
You're
yeah,
talking
that's
about,
the
right?
scariest thing in the movie, like
Right?
completely.
But the unease has been generated so well up to that point that like that's when the jump scare is the best because the director or the
earned.
filmmaker or whatever has been able to craft this moment where you're on edge. And
Well, it
not just
it delivers though
suspense
too, I
kinda that
guess,
comes
because like
before
I guess I meant more the false jump scare.
right.
Oh, you
It's
mean the
something-
cat or the friend?
Right,
With
exactly.
the music cue?
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
that makes
and
me
that's
so
such a
mad.
played out thing. And so so that when it's the scary thing that isn't a scary thing.
Right,
So
right.
okay, so I mean to correct the false jump scare is something that I hate.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Horror just seems to be like at least the most fun and the most versatile kind of genre. I don't know.
Well, it's also very versatile in what is the antagonist in the film.
Right.
It could be like someone like Freddy, Jason, Leatherface, or it could be nature itself,
Right.
It could be a house.
a house.
Yeah, like Frozen. Oh my God, the Adam Green film from 2010 is a great
It's just
example of
just the
nature.
elements.
That's a good one.
There was
Yeah.
also that Australian movie where like two people go camping and then nature like turns on them.
Walkabout.
But they remade it like recently with Jim Caviezel for some reason.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of that at all. I love it.
Okay, all right. So the next thing, let's do Chris trivia. Go ahead and lay it on us, dude.
Oh, I think we talked about some of it, but let me see. Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure.
Shot
we
in 5
time-
weeks.
time yeah.
The movie was reverse engineered. Yeah, story built from around the effects that he knew he could achieve, and then they just filled in the story around
like he
it.
conceived of this this massive
Yeah,
sort of event.
It started with a shunt.
Yeah,
Actually, I think there's
knowing it
something
would be a mind blower.
they
And build a film
they
around
kept,
it.
I guess they kept adding scenes to like the beginning of the movie to try and like ease you into the ending, because like the original script was more, even more.
There
abrupt.
was less like
Which is-
weird stuff that happened. At
Yeah,
first,
like
right?
the shower scene, I think
Right.
they added, and the bed scene, I think too. I don't know. It was 2 scenes where you
Oh, like
basically
the body's contortions.
Yeah,
Okay.
you see more of a hint of what's gonna shunt what's on the shunting.
Shut the fuck up.
Oh, this is for Kenzie. Warlock actually refused a nude butt scene in the movie.
Yes, he did. He did. He's not very confident.
He was quoted as saying,
I bet
"I
his
don't
butt
have
is
a nice
cute,
ass."
too.
He's like, they're not putting my ass on backwards.
Yeah, according to him, he just
You got them coming up my ass backwards.
It's like President Scrooge in Spaceballs.
he actually refused to do it because it wasn't on backwards.
Nobody told him my ass was so big.
He said, "You're not going to show my ass without my face." No, he didn't actually say that.
All right, is that all you got for us?
Yeah, that was it, actually.
Okay.
A lot of it came up.
It did. It did indeed. Okay. Next thing on the list. So there's something I want to talk about the end of the film. So with the Clarissa character, like she's one of them. Like what the fuck? She's just all good.
Yeah, because doesn't
I
she have
know
to
that-
still
that
shunt
kind of-
to
that- that
survive?
kind of doesn't
News
get
about that.
Yeah,
Is
because
it because she's darker than all the other ones? Weren't all
Takes
the
us
rest
back
of
to
the
racism.
people
she's
white?
also like hotter than all the other ones. So you
What
think
was
that
up with
she
her
was.
mom? Wasn't
yeah.
Fat
she in
Amy from
Glow?
Pitch Perfect.
Yeah.
Wasn't she Matilda the Hun in Glow?
Yeah.
That's what I kept thinking. I'm like, what's her
It's been a
deal
long
with the
time
hair?
since I've seen the gorgeous ladies of
the
wrestling.
not so gorgeous ladies of wrestling. Yeah, they kind of that's kind of weird. What is she? Some kind of is she?
Well, I thought like she was part
Is
of
she kind of-
society.
Well, she is, because remember she splits
Yeah.
the hair out.
Yeah,
Like, I
no,
thought
and even-
she wasn't
yeah,
at
and even-
first.
So we're
but
both of
she
them part of
doesn't-
it.
She
Yeah,
doesn't
it's kinda
shunt.
confusing.
No, the Wikipedia page even identifies
okay,
that
yeah,
she
does
is
cough
one
up-
of them.
She does cough
So
up the
she's-
hair.
So what is
Yeah,
her goal?
she is
She
one of
just
them.
like
So she's
him
like,
that much.
oh, is she kind of like, I don't know what.
Well, I assume it's kind of like a vampire. I mean, you can almost look at it like sympathetically, like if they have to shunt to survive, if that's how they
She would
feed.
forego her
Maybe it's-
shunting
but
to be
they-
in love with him.
But can
But what's
she
the
forego
mother's goal
shunting?
then?
Romeo and Juliet type of.
But I understand.
Is he going
to
to come
a
home from
degree
work
that-
2 days later and find her shunting the dog or shunting
Well,
the mailman?
Actually, no, that's my question.
Oh,
like,
there was a
okay.
sequel
Shunting some
planned
random
also.
neighborhood kid?
Fast forward to Society 2, and Clarissa and
Electric
and
Chantaloo.
Billy are living, in romantic domestic bliss together, and she's like, Bill, like, I gotta shunt. I gotta is she gonna try to like
they go
shunt
to
with
Skid
him,
Row.
like teach him to shunt?
No,
or
they go to
something?
Skid Row. They pick up a homeless guy. It's
And
like,
they
oh,
shunt
sir, we'll
him?
get you a dinner,
So
and
they're
then take him behind
continuing
an alley
their-
and shunt him.
That's still pretty fucked up.
But that, yeah, exactly. that
Controls the
still
homeless population.
But that, but that continues the
people.
plight of the upper class feeding on the lower class. So they're no better than the people in the first movie.
I almost feel
Yeah,
like
true.
there should have been a scene after the end credits where like he like shoots her in the back of the head.
I'm
when
just
she's,
like, are you
distracted.
shitting me? No way.
No,
Like,
I
you
don't
gotta
trust no
Take
shunters.
care of all of them. Yeah,
I don't want to
no,
get shunted in
no
my sleep.
shunters.
You're not going to shunt me in the back.
You can shunt somebody in
it's
hell,
kinda,
bitch.
It's kind of weird. Maybe he becomes one of them because here's my main gripe with the film, is at the end the fight scene he gets shunted,
Right.
or is in the process of shunting. All of a sudden he gets like, and he's got
Right.
like Popeye power now, and he's like turning the guy inside out, breaking his arm and stuff. Like I never did get that. Like
Yeah,
he was
that
getting
was
his
weird.
ass kicked earlier, and then all of a sudden, once the
Oh,
shunting
yeah.
begins,
He can
Is he-
just turn
he
it
could
on.
just
made
be
me
like,
think-
"Oh, I'm going to turn you inside out."
That made me think like for a second, like is he like one of them? Because
Does he absorb the man's
Well,
power?
perhaps all of their victims previously are just too paralyzed with fear to fight back, and little did we know, that if you stand up to these Richards,
Yeah, they're
Well,
out.
you
here's
could
my
take him
theory.
down.
It's not bad
Here's
to
my
that
theory.
part.
He absorbs some of the shuntiness of their species
So he's like
For a
part
brief
by
of
moment.
absorbing his DNA through the shunting.
I was like a
that
day
he was
walker,
able to
a
stop
day
the
shunter.
full shunting
Shunt-
of it.
shunting
He's the blade
process.
of the shunting.
So now he
division.
can now
Yeah.
shunt with the girl.
Oh,
I think
So-
I think
so-
it was just sort of
There's
like
some
the
word that-
filmmaker's take on like, you know, the successful, like the American dream. Like he's just working hard, and like now he's actually made it. Now
Well,
he's
no,
part of
that's what I was
society.
going to say. Does that mean then at the end that he's
Wait, who's working
become
hard?
one of them?
I would
Well,
argue
but
that
right?
he's not
Is
working
that-
hard. He's still a rich kid.
Yeah.
So he's
Well,
not.
and he can
I
shunt
know.
now. So arguably,
supposed to
he's
like him?
become the enemy
Well,
by the end of the
can
film.
he shunt now?
Well, I think that, I mean,
We will never
We'll
know.
never
maybe,
know,
or
yeah.
you know what? You could argue that he was in the guy who was fighting was in a pre-shunting form. So his
Oh,
his-
like he was in some sort of
yeah.
like mid-shunt
right.
transition, so he was
his
totally
body
vulnerable.
was to a hand
like a
stab.
hermit crab changing shell.
exactly.
Right.
Well, if they get all saggy
Got
and
it.
like stuff, like it would
Right, so
be
he could
easier to
shove it
turn
up
them
in there.
inside out.
Yeah.
Obviously,
yeah.
their bones must soften or something.
Yeah. Okay. Well, these are things to think
The
about.
deeper
At
Yeah,
night.
meaning.
these are important topics. that
Okay.
It
we're
actually did
discussing.
keep me
So
up
the
at
next
night.
thing, what I'd like us to do is go through society and see how it fits into Campbell's monomyth structure.
What?
No, I'm just
Actually, I kind of got a little excited.
just kidding. We're not, you and I could do that too, Dave. We're not really going to do that. So the next thing I want to talk about. So here we go. Here's what I want to say. So we were all impressed by the shunting scene, right? Obviously, and the film, as we've talked about, as we've spoken about here, was based around these special effects and this special effect scene, right? This huge sequence of shots and stuff like that. Now, I know most of us have bemoaned the prequels, the Star Wars prequels, particularly for just gratuitous special effects and the story just being like generated just some bullshit thinking up to get around and to make the special effects happen. Like he dreams up all these crazy monsters and shit, and we got to shoehorn those into the story.
Yeah.
So let's write the story around these special effects. Now you look at something like the prequels that pretty much fail on every level. That sort of is you could compare with something like this because the special effects are the genesis of the project, but this kind of succeeded. So is it truly invalid to?
Well, I
Is
think
it
with-
truly invalid to base a film like this? Is putting Michael Bay in
Star
a
Wars,
new
you have something
perspective
to-
in a way because
You have Star Wars already, though, so the prequels are
They've
taking
been done
something
well,
that
yeah.
you already had, and then right,
It's
you
already
had something
setting the
already
bar
done well,
really, really high.
and then they did it.
well,
Right.
right, but part of the
Subpar.
reason that's what I'm saying.
have a par.
Part of the reason that
There's no
it is
society par.
beneath the par is because believe or theoretically, the movie was a bunch of super special effects sequences that
Yeah.
were conceived, and then the story is written around it.
Well, I could see, but I think horror is maybe one of the one
Like the
genres
pod
you could do
race.
that. Like if you think
Right.
about like if you came up with like 4 or 5 really cool, unique kill scenes, and then you're like, all right, well, I'm just going to make a movie where there's some crazy killer and he just kills people like this.
Right.
You could probably make a pretty successful horror movie still.
Well, yeah, it can probably be pretty bitchin'.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what I'm
it's a good
saying.
point to
So,
add to the
like, I
flexibility
think
of-
that maybe it's something of the nature of horror itself that it has to only deliver certain things to be successful.
Like Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, we got to have a battle scene between Freddy and Jason.
Right.
Let's just
Yeah.
make the story about that.
Comedy
And that's
kinda
like
does
you
it too,
kind
but-
of knew that right that movie only existed for that big fight with them at the end, and everything else was just kind of tied on to make
Right.
that happen. And because I don't think you don't expect the same level of quality from even a good horror movie, I guess.
quality in terms of production
And
value.
well, not even necessarily that, like in maybe depth of story or something. You know what
Sure,
I'm saying?
I think you're admittedly willing to sort of settle for less. You're
Right,
not necessarily
right.
looking for
It is a
best
low
picture
budget
of the
movie.
year.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the thing, and it's
You
like,
know.
and I think it's easier to make a great horror movie than a great film of maybe many other genres, because as long as you pull off the horror all right, then you succeed.
Right.
It's almost like making a porno. As long as the sex is good, who cares what else is going on?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's like or like comedy.
You can
like,
layer whatever shit you want on top of it,
Right.
and it may or may not succeed. But if you get the horror part right, you're
like
good
I'll
to go.
see, like I've seen a
Wow.
lot of stupid comedies, and it's like, but if it makes me laugh, well, I've got to at least say that it succeeded on some level.
It was
was
a
funny.
successful comedy.
Right.
If you
So
laughed.
I think maybe just because of the nature of horror, they sort of he kind of gets a pass.
If we made like a spectrum of genres, would it be like porn, horror, comedy? Like,
Would we even include porn?
I would.
I mean,
Well,
It's only like half of
it's funny
movies
because I
being
mean that
made.
would be like a form of dramatic storytelling of a different nature, though, because it's trying to tell a different kind of
Porn
story.
drama.
Well, some porn.
Because most movies aren't trying to get you to fucking to
Well, there's
pop
like your
off.
gonzos, your amateurs, your compilations. Then there's the parodies ones. and
Well,
then
yeah,
there's
but
the prestige pictures like Pirates.
But the end goal is the same with all of those. You're either going to pump off or you're going to fuck somebody.
Or you could get laughs.
Like with
There's some
other-
pretty funny
well, but
laughs.
arguably, wasn't that the same thing
But,
that we said that was the only thing required from a horror film? Was
Well,
the horror?
okay. Are there any porno films that at the end you were like, dude, like,
No.
it like made me consider like these serious social issues, and I like blasted a fat nut all over my face.
Did
Have you ever had that happen?
society made you
This
think
ain't
about
Brokeback
serious
Mountain
social?
Triple X.
What I'm saying is porn is supposed to serve a very specific purpose. I see its function in society as a very specific thing.
But
There
it's
was
not hard.
Kelly
The rest of-
Madison's Productions
that-
Take Off the Condom,
that-
which was a response to the AHF's anti-condom law.
That the rest of film. I think there's sort of a different
I need to get out
purposes.
more.
All right, so let's see. Let me cross that off my list.
I still don't understand what the hell you were asking.
I was asking if
Continue.
Are you asking if porn would be considered valid art? Is that what?
No, the
The
original,
original
question.
question
Oh.
was
Yeah.
is basing your film around a special effects
Oh.
sequence a legitimate form,
Like
a
compared
legitimate
to
way
the
to
Star
approach
Wars.
a film?
It
Because
really depends
I
on the
would say-
genre of the film, and yeah, I think John
As
is
long
right
as-
about it being
long
horror.
as
It's
you
like
get
you
the money
have
shot.
if you have a couple really good shots,
Well,
then I
there's-
think you can piece it together. But for
Right.
something like Star Wars, it's like the first ones were like it's like completely story driven. You know, it's like
Right.
that's why we love them. And there's cool effects in there too.
That's true.
But then like Lucas just like dreams up all this extra shit and then like totally shoehorns
stuff into there.
like a story into it. It's like what is all this
switch.
stuff about like taxation and like it's like come on, like what is
Well,
this?
what about
Margot's.
something like Benjamin Buttons though that like is so heavily dependent on like the special
I actually like that
effects?
movie
I
a lot.
wouldn't-
Well, I'm not trashing it. I'm just saying like
Well, I don't-
now you have a movie that's not like a low genre thing. Now you have a movie that's like critically hailed and I believe was nominated for awards.
Yes.
But arguably,
Well, I don't
that's
think
a
it's
film that's
shoehorned, though,
based
because-
around. Well, it's not shoehorned, but it is based around the special
well,
effects on
not-
some
well,
level.
not really. I
to
think
a
it's
degree.
it's based around
Part
this
of the
one
movie.
concept.
Also,
you know?
yeah,
Like,
how
how-
else are you going to show that?
Well, yeah, you couldn't make
You
you
can't-
couldn't make Lord of the Rings really until this modern era of
No,
computer
but-
special effects. But those special
but the
the movie doesn't
point of
exist
it-
because of those special effects.
No, but the point of it is that he goes from old to young,
Right,
And
but
so
that's-
you have to.
But it's about the
But that's
story,
the
not
only-
the
but that's the
special
only way
effects.
you
The
can
special
tell
effects.
that
Off an F.
story.
Scott Fitzgerald novella.
It,
too.
Yeah.
it might help if I.
But
read
also,
it or
like,
seen it.
if-
Yeah,
you
I've
know,
Like
never
no
seen-
one
I've
is
seen
gonna
it
go to the
either.
movies
Yeah,
and be like,
Scott
oh, let's
Fitzgerald.
check out this movie where the guy gets younger. He like starts off really old and he gets younger and he looks great.
Which is
It's
funny.
amazing special
Well,
effects.
that's what I would think of the synopsis based on what I know of the film.
It's,
That's
you know
actually
what?
word for word the IMDb plot.
I'm sure it is. But
it
you know
actually
what?
sounds like a
That's-
Kenzie synopsis.
It turned me off forever, but I actually really like the movie quite a bit. Actually.
Okay, so yeah, so I think we can agree that it is potentially legit.
Well, don't you think though, as far as the Star Wars prequels, quickly, that the difference being that the Star Wars prequels effects suck, so there's nothing really like on that level.
Well,
there's
I think
some of them are okay, but
they're
like
just
you can
so
see the green screen for God's
unnecessary.
sake on some of those.
Yes.
And the
I
other
think.
thing is that the society builds up to that scene, so they're at least
Yeah,
attempting
that's
to build
true.
tension and
the
push.
prequels are like slapping us in the face
Yeah.
like every
Yeah.
2 seconds.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of building to this giant culmination, whereas the Star Wars prequels are, oh look, there's a overweight man on a diner and they're having a conversation.
Right.
Like,
There's like a
He's a
certain
crazy
this
alien.
overweight, like this, and he has this strange feet, and he's a cook.
yeah. There's like a purity
Rishi
to
Maze.
society.
Oh,
it's
God,
only
yeah.
Okay,
it's only a
okay,
horror
okay,
movie
let's
trying
get
to
to
be a
that.
horror
Let's get
movie.
there. Yeah, next issue.
Whereas
Get me
Star Wars
started.
is like
All right,
all
let's
over
move
the
on.
place.
Jack Joe Monte.
Okay, the next issue is was society an effective takedown of the upper class?
No.
No.
Wait,
Yeah,
is that-
no.
How long ago did this come
Is that
out?
a fair question?
Did society do to Richards what Nightcrawler did to the media?
No.
No.
I don't think so.
I think it was trying to do that, but it failed on multiple levels.
Well,
Because they
it doesn't
don't-
introduce that till later.
Well, and also the what the society ends up being, they don't really. So the real society has no solution for that problem, I guess. Like, I mean, they're not like in real life. They're not, body sucking shunters. So
No, but I think that was metaphorical for the way
don't
they
know.
bodily suck
Damn.
and shunt you.
right, but because
By-
they show it happening
Monetarily.
literally, it's
Yes.
hard to see it as a metaphor for like, well, how are they?
I was kind of like a Marxist thing. Like they exploit they exploit the proletariat
True.
to maintain their like wealth and status.
Yeah.
Well, don't you think though, with a more adept hand, like a Cronenberg in charge of this, if you were to make a few changes, like
Oh yeah.
Billy
okay.
needs to not be a rich kid. If he was a poor kid, that would then
Can
you
you
have
imagine
the kid.
Cronenberg society?
I-
That would have been.
oh.
that would've been
I
rad.
would. Well, Cody's right. I would make Billy the poor kid. They meet at this school.
Yeah.
He's fallen in love with a rich girl from high society.
that makes more sense.
The psychologist would probably be more the school psychologist, something more
Yeah, a
accessible.
school
Yeah.
counselor or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
And then he finds out that all these
That-
rich
that would've
people
been
are
way more
slugs.
effective.
And also over the course of the movie, you can have the rich people constantly berating him and putting him down. So it's kind of you're building up to these people are putting down the lower class,
Right.
And then it makes sense at the end, not just all of a sudden it's we're rich and you guys are poor and we shunt you. It's
right.
Yeah, but he's not even poor. He's like driving around in
Yeah.
like a brand new
like that
Jeep.
Jeep, that badass
He's
Jeep.
got the Marty
dude.
McFly Jeep from Back to the Future.
Dude, that thing's sick. That thing's sick as fuck, dude. That Jeep. We should pitch in. The sick ride. We should pitch in and get that Jeep.
The Cinemarijuana Mobile.
Yeah, the official mobile. Paint a logo on the side.
So really, if the goal of society was to sort of take a pot shot at the 1%, it wasn't quite as successful in its aim.
No.
Yeah, not very
think it's,
successful.
Safe to
What
say
was
that
the
one.
director's name again?
Brian Yuzna.
Yuzna.
He didn't direct Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but he and Stuart
that's
Gordon
right.
He
wrote
produced
it.
and wrote it.
Yeah, but
And he
did
produced
direct,
Reanimator.
Yeah, and he directed
Yeah.
Bride
There's
of
like-
Reanimator.
There's Dolls too in there. I
That's
think?
Stuart Gordon.
No, he produced Dolls.
Produced it.
He didn't
Okay.
direct it. Stuart Gordon directed it, though, I believe.
You're correct, sir.
And he also did Silent Night, Deadly Night 4.
Yeah.
I actually did see Dolls
Four.
in the movie theater.
Wonder if
I
you-
would actually, Dolls is one of the Stuart Gordon ones I haven't seen yet, which is a little embarrassing to admit, but because Stuart Gordon is fucking rad. He did like one of the best, probably the best of the Masters of Horror, the Showtime series. His episode was probably the best one.
Which one did he do?
I forget.
Okay.
Wikipedia,
To
guys.
be continued.
We have
I
the
just actually haven't watched that show for years. In fact, the only one I remember is La Femme Absolute du Monde, the one that Drew McWeeny of
Hitflix.
wrote. The one with Udo Kier. I make my own movie.
All right. Moving on. Next issue.
Okay.
Name
that's-
dropping.
That's off the. That's off the. Well, Udo Kier. He's okay. Really.
He just look. Hey, look, a guy
he's in
feeds
some
intestines into a
rad
projector.
movies.
All right.
Well,
Just
dude,
that's all you need to
He's
know.
in some rad fucking movies. He's usually like an out there character in out there movies. Like he's in those two Paul Morrissey flicks with Andy Warhol, The Blood for Dracula and Flesh of
Flesh of
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. I guarantee he's been in something that everybody at this table has
Blade.
seen.
He's.
You just might not know it, but you've all seen something with Udo Kier.
Grindhouse.
My Own Private Idaho.
Okay, so what makes? Let me start this. What makes a film a bad film?
No.
that's-
Because
Are you
we've
serious?
seen
We
we've
could go
seen-
on forever.
No. What I'm saying is, where do we draw the line? Well, I was sort of saying earlier, you
Okay,
know,
well-
we
Like
we
what? Like
watched,
what's the difference between a bad movie and like a good bad movie?
well, because that's what I'm saying. Like, if the objective of a film is either to have enjoyment or to be forced to confront or consider issues, even if the films are technically bad, if they succeed on some level, can we really say they're bad films? And when we say that, like, because it's a you know, it's a deprecating term, but really, I mean, I enjoyed All That Jazz almost as much as I enjoyed Hamburger the Motion Picture. So now Hamburger the Motion Picture is a bad film, but it's also a rad film.
Well,
I was like, what's up with bad films?
I always feel like it's the intention. It's like, okay, like for me, that's the difference between something like, say, The Room and like something like Sharknado. Is that like if you try to make a really good movie and you put your all into it, right? And okay, it's low budget, but you scrounge every dollar you could get, and like you're trying. You think you've got a great script and a great cast, and you think you're making a great movie, and you fail miserably. That love is still going to come through in the movie somehow.
It's earnest.
Right.
And that's when you're going to have like The Room, and it's like where it's a
And Standing
horrible movie.
Ovation.
And there's so many movies that are so bad they're good. But if you set out to make crap, and you're like, well, we're going to make this stupid movie for the Sci-Fi Channel with some flying shark or some stupid shit like that, and you phone everything in, and you get a bunch of no-name D-list celebrities who are going to phone in their performance, just some stupid movie they don't care about, and nobody really tries, then you make something so bad that it's
super
terrible.
cheese on purpose.
Right. Like, you can't try to make a bad movie. You have to try to make a good movie and fail. If you try to make a bad movie, you just make garbage.
But if it's enjoyable, have they really failed? I mean,
No, because if they tried and it's worth watching, even if it's bad, then they succeeded on some level.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Like even the worst person in the class is kind of a winner because they're the best at being the worst,
True. Somebody's got to be last.
right?
But I mean, I'm sure they won't be thinking that when they're back in the same class next semester.
But because it's kind of like John and I have discussed about Mystery Science Theater 3000. Because Harry Knowles notoriously takes the stand, like he's notorious for not liking that show because he's all fucking haughty about it.
Yeah,
movies are
disrespects
not
the
to be
movies.
made fun of. But what I'm saying is that he's
Some
being
movies
ignorant
are.
to the show because it is not. It's not. Riff Tracks is different. Mystery Science Theater 3000 is not necessarily being disrespectful, and the best episodes are the one where the movies are still fun, in addition to them being able to come up with a lot of funny jokes. Like, for example, Bride of the Monster versus Manos: The Hands of Fate. Manos: The Hands of Fate is notoriously, infamously one of the funniest episodes.
But the
I
movie
say
itself is unwatchable.
Is unwatchable, and I say that something like Bride of the Monster, where the movie actually is watchable on some level, is much funnier and it's more fun.
Well, and then that's an Ed Wood movie, which then comes back to the idea of trying your best to make.
And
Ed Wood loved movies, and he tried to be the next,
Wells.
Wells, right? And obviously, once again, he failed. He reached for the stars, and he failed. But the fact that he was
Icarus.
trying that hard you got to be an Icarus, I think, to make something so bad that it's good.
But So
So where does that fit in in relation to actual good films? Because that discerning between bad films, but how do you rate a movie like Society with other, for example, like we brought up Cronenberg, other Cronenberg body horror from the same era, that's like The Fly, that's infinitely superior on every single level.
Right.
Like, how do you evaluate that? Because I enjoyed this movie, but it technically has enough issues to discuss for 3 hours.
Yeah,
on a technical level.
there are much better examples of whatever Society is trying to do. There are better examples
because
of
they
it.
failed at everything they're trying to do, but I still enjoyed it because of the mistakes, except for the shunting.
Well, see, I don't know that I
But-
would go that far that they failed
the
at
dialogue
everything they
was
tried to do. But
terrible.
I think
Well,
the movie's got its own aesthetic, I think.
The poorly delivered lines kind of leads me to believe that they're trying on some level to be a comedy.
Well, yeah.
Because I mean, it's
especially the
like
Big
that
Bertha
one
one.
where it's like, no.
Oh yeah, when
No!
he jumps out of the jeep. Yeah, yeah.
Well, when the target
because
audience is like horny teenagers, you want to just keep things
But it
light
wasn't
So
and
funny
then-
because it
entertaining.
was well written and funny. It was funny because of how bad it was.
But was it satirical though? Because if
I think
if
it
it's-
was.
See, and then if the point is somebody gets it, then it was like successful at being satirical.
well, understand.
as
Wait,
right?
the society part understands that part. Because they're not very subtle with it. I mean, they essentially come out and say the message of the movie. So, I mean, if I'd be more worried if people didn't get it, because they just straight up say it at the end.
Yeah, but if you felt it,
because I think it actually would have been.
you can't just know it.
But
You
I
gotta
think,
feel it.
But don't you
too.
think
I didn't
like
feel
it
it.
would have been more, like obviously to a degree, but it would have been more effective if they would have never called attention to it. If they would have had and changed Billy to a poor kid, and then never called attention to it was like
Yeah.
class warfare.
Yeah.
But just you'll get it if you're paying attention.
And then just slap you in the face with it by surprise at the end.
Well, even in that scene, you don't have to use dialogue to say it. Well, you can use visual imagery
Yeah, that's
of
true.
them literally sucking the life out of the poor.
It was a little bit ham-fisted, I think, in the message.
Yeah, I guess I would concede that. That's certainly
I'm still insulted right now.
they beat you. Elaborate.
Just that it had to explain it. That he thought he would have to explain it to me. I can't believe it.
Oh yeah, well maybe
What a kick in the nuts. No, I'm just kidding.
Right, dude. All right. Does anybody else have anything they want to add to?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Did anyone notice the sudden input of butts into the third act?
That was the main thing I loved about
It was
the film.
all of a sudden
honestly.
Buttface became very important to say to his dad, and that was like his last line as he leaves. But
Yeah.
like it would have been like they didn't say that in the whole first two acts, and then
They
his
were
dad
holding
is
out.
literally a
Letting
buttface
it
in that
build up.
scene.
They were letting
Maybe
it
it
build
was
up.
Like all of a sudden they're like, oh, we
was
need
a
some
huge
butt
payoff.
faces in this movie.
It was significant
The ultimate
towards the
payoff.
end of
Yes.
the movie. They talk more about butts.
Maybe when they knew there was going to be that butt face effect, they really thought that was.
We need some dialogue.
Well,
to
they
hammer this
just
home.
like
They
yeah.
want to really just
We
like.
need some
They probably
foreshadowing.
just thought it was really
Let's just
funny.
go.
or-
Let's
yeah.
just
But we've
go
already
balls
shot
to
the
wall
first
with
two-thirds
this
of the
guy.
movie,
They
so-
were well into production before they figured out.
Oh, and there it is.
Some butt faces.
Okay, so we will be back next week. That'll do it for round
not gonna be back
Round
next week.
Society.
Yeah, no, we're not.
It's Horathon next week, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. We will be back
Halloween.
on Halloween.
Maybe.
We'll be back. I actually, while I have everybody here, I'm going to put something on Facebook. I want everybody to check in on the Facebook and let us know what's going with your Halloween plans, because that way we can plan whatever it is we
Yeah,
want to
because
do.
the intention is to do movie Saturday, and then if people are down, to do some kind of a whole Halloween night thing and make a
like
whole
a
evening out of it.
marathon
You guys
horror
get
film.
trick-or-treating?
But if
We may.
there's a potential, but only if people are down. If everybody else has other plans, and that's cool. Then we can
Yeah.
either just do the movie Saturday, and then everybody can go their separate ways. You know,
Because we'll go. If not, like we were talking about going to see Rocky Horror, and like if everybody else is busy, we may go see Rocky Horror. But if everybody if enough people want to hang out, like
because
we'll
we're
do
talking
like
about maybe
Check the
doing like a
schedule. We'll check our
marathon
schedule.
or
We'll have
like.
my people call your people.
But also
you gotta wrap
because
this shit up.
because tonight we'll be doing the last film in the
This is the
free
end,
for all.
yes.
So are we going to do a free for all wrap up podcast?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
we should.
I think we
Okay.
should because it's
All
kind
right,
of
so you'll be getting some extra content to make up for the week that we
we'll have
missed.
to erase
And
the
then,
previous one. on
Yes,
the
so
whiteboard.
we'll be starting our new theme, Bros Before Hoes, Chicks Before Dicks theme.
We'll see if I continue my unbroken streak of coming in last at every theme.
Starting
Yeah,
on November 7th. All right, so we're going to get out of here for this week. Goodbyes clockwise, starting with me. I'm Ed.
I'm Zeb.
I'm John.
I'm Kenzie.
I'm Chris.
I'm Cody.
I'm Spartacus.
And we'll be back soon. Thank you for listening.
Fuck you, Jonathan Larson.